Well, Happy New Year. A new church year begins today, and that's a great thing. And so when we begin a new year, we turn the page on which gospel we focus on. This is called Year 2 or Year B. We have a 3-year cycle in the church. In the first year, we focus on Matthew as the gospel along with John. This year, we focus on Mark along with some John, and then next year it will be Luke with a little bit of John, and then we go back through the cycle again. And it's amazing. For me, it's already, we are starting our second cycle together. When I started here in 2020, we went through Mark, and then here we go again. So time does march on, that's for sure. A little bit about Mark. It was written in the late 60s, right around the time of the destruction of the temple and the Great Revolt. There's a lot of different debates on who the author is, but he is likely a companion of Peter and Paul, and we see him featured in various New Testament lessons, including Acts, Colossians, Timothy, and Philemon. We see evidence of Mark in action. The book is written in Rome, and it's written to a Christian audience that is not residing, however, in Palestine. It's somewhere in the Roman Empire, but it is not in Palestine. We got 3 big scenes in Mark. The first big scene is the baptism. We don't get the birth narrative, but we get the baptism. We go into that pretty deeply. The second big scene will be the transfiguration. And then the third really big scene is the crucifixion. We got a lot of Holy Week stuff coming out hard and fast in Mark. We know that Mark is a source document for Matthew and Luke. It is one of the most important source documents that those writers use. And the primary purpose of the gospel seems to be for us to focus on the crucifixion to a great extent, to understand what Jesus was trying to do and the sacrifice he was making to make it very clear that the shalom is non-negotiable. If we follow God, if we follow Jesus, we too will have to think about and work through a type of sacrifice, a self-sacrifice to self. How do I let go a little bit more, and how do I do that much more? How do I deal with this? And this is a big question for all Christians to be thinking about, because a Christian by nature should be someone that clearly is following in the footsteps of Jesus. We can see that in time and space as far as what people are doing. And I think Mark's gospel helps us unpack that. The audience that he first is working with is likely suffering from persecution, their own persecution at the hands of Rome, and are very aware of what is going on in Palestine, and it's just a really tough time. And I think that the people in Mark's gospel that are hearing it for the first time are starting to wonder to themselves, if this Jesus is so good, why are things so bad? We might ask the same questions from time to time, but in the end, we're invited to become God's hands and feet and to do everything we can to make life better. So, in today's text, it's really a part of an ongoing conversation that Jesus has with his disciples. Again, we're in Holy Week. It's probably Tuesday or Wednesday, kind of in the week. It feels like it. They're probably at the end of the day kind of sitting on the Mount of Olives and talking about all kinds of things that are happening. And the day before, the disciples were marveling at the temple. This temple is just, they're just kind of kicking back, going, this temple is really something. because they were spending a lot of time at the temple with Jesus as he was holding court, and they were just blown away by its magnificence, right? And so Jesus says, well, it's pretty amazing, but I'm going to tell you the truth. The whole thing is coming down. What you see here will be no more. It is going to come down. And of course, the temple does come down. The whole area is laid to waste, roughly 40 years after he makes that statement in real time. Part of the collapse can also, I think, be seen not only in terms of the physical rubble, but whatever connectivity there was political connectivity between Rome and Palestine, that's been fully shattered. So everything about this society, everything that they thought they understood, for better or worse, has and will be radically, radically changed. It's something that I think it's hard for us to fully imagine, because it's totally everything. The conversation continues in today's text, and they ask the question, well, when is all this stuff going to happen? When? And Jesus explains a variety of different types of events that will take place. You know, things don't happen overnight. There's all kinds of dysfunction that will take place. And, it could be, we could maybe look at this text in a couple levels. One level is that the text is absolutely describing that which was going to happen 40 years later, the complete destruction of the temple, devastation throughout Palestine, or it could mean something else, something more. But we have these two kinds of things to think about. You know, when you look at Palestine at the time of Jesus, at the time of the revolt, the great Jewish revolt, we probably have a population, let's call it 800,000 in all of Palestine. At least half will be killed. At least half. That's a lot of devastation. It's radical. It's just incredible. And it happens. But what else is happening is that there is a type of second coming, or first, whatever coming you want. Something's happening in and around Palestine and in the Roman Empire by now. You have Christian communities that are forming all over the place. You have rich and poor coming together, attempting to actualize everything that Jesus was talking about. They pay attention to Jesus' sayings. They attempt to create that community in real time and space. They argue about things as well. It's not perfectly smooth or anything, but there's great effort that has already taken place and is taking place as the kingdom starts to unfold. And by the time we get to the end of the first century, we've got 50,000 Christians, thereabouts. When Jesus was around, maybe 500. So there's been a lot of growth, and then by the year 200, we have 200,000 Christians. By the year 500, with the help of the Roman Empire making this a state religion, we have over 10 million Christians by the year 500. And now we have over 2 billion Christians throughout the world. It's a whole lot of stuff going on. Now, is that a type of a second coming that is transferring and translating over time and space? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And there's no doubt that, with those numbers, if we go back to the lesson that Jesus talked about the sheep and the goats, when I come again, the sheep that are really doing shalom, that's a group, and the group that doesn't do it, them's is the goats, right? So, and I suspect when I bandy all those numbers around, it's a mixture of sheep and goats, probably. That's probably the case. I kind of wonder about this. I have to confess. I know that the first coming of Jesus, after his baptism, and after a series of events that take place where we are starting to understand this is the Messiah, and most people are very disappointed because they are expecting this military man to conquer everything. And he doesn't. He actualizes peace. He dies for peace. On his cross, he says, "Father, forgive them. They know not what they are doing." He is the epitome of peace. He defines by his life, death, and resurrection the shalom. And when we try to unpack these words about another type of second coming, it still feels like that spirit of a military thing is in that mix. There's something really that bites along those lines. And I don't have much to offer about it other than just an observation that spiritually that's kind of how it might feel. So what we're left with in the church, at least in this denomination, we're left with, because we can't fully understand all this anyway, but we're kind of left with the idea, okay, there's been a first coming, a lot of little comings, and then there's going to be this big coming. And that's kind of where we leave it. Okay, so, but here's the thing. It may not really matter. It's something we have no control over. It's a device that could be used to divide us. It's a device that could be used to paralyze us or give us an excuse not to do the work that needs to be done. It can become a remarkable distraction, and mainly because we have no control over what it is or how it might happen, and even Jesus makes it clear he doesn't know. But what we do have is we have the life we've been given, we have the faith we've been given, and we have the opportunity to follow Jesus. To follow Jesus. I heard somebody say in our community in the last few days, with the way Christianity seems to be unfolding and the various phases of Christianity, can we bring that down? Various phases of Christianity in the world, maybe it's better to, rather than say I'm a Christian, is to say I am a follower of the footsteps of Jesus. That's definitive. No matter what doctrine people can relate, Following in the footsteps of Jesus is very definitive. It's very clear. There should be no doubt in anyone's mind what that means. I sometimes wonder if, like everything else, we need to be rebranded. I don't know. But in any event, here we are. It's Advent. And we have this opportunity to reflect on the coming birth of Jesus, recognizing that also at the very same time, Luther makes it clear to us we are to celebrate our baptisms every day. So even through Advent, we're going to celebrate our baptisms every day. Even through Advent, we're going to celebrate the fact that Jesus is with us right now. Every day, we have the opportunity to be his hands and feet, while at the same time working on understanding some of the contemplative aspects of the season. Well, here we are. We've got this beautiful tree. It's lit to celebrate Advent. And some things you might want to think about as you meditate and you think about Advent and you think about life and you think about the hope that can uniquely be found in Jesus. Each light on that tree might be lighting a pathway, if you will. We use pathway a lot, but lighting a pathway of understanding how we may be able to be engaged in God's love, the different things we do as a congregation and as individuals. Each light can represent for us our loved ones who have gone on, those who have died, recognizing throughout the season it is bittersweet. We have this one dimension that society says, we're supposed to be joyful, and we are, but we also hurt. And those lights might be able to soothe us. You see, where there's light, there's life, and where there's life, there's hope. While we wait and are watchful, we recognize that this spiritual highlight of the season is something we can experience every day. Every day. So, in the end, what we're invited to do this week is to establish clearly the hope that through Christ we can make a difference in the world. Amen.